extraterrestrial in nature, we've realized that the information that we ought to share with each and every one of you should be of such a nature so that you can adapt it into your terrestrial lives. As such, allow me to indicate that this interaction will have two parts to it. The first part shall deal with some of the ideas of what you call us extraterrestrials, to answer a few questions that many of you have been asking about our different species. The second part shall deal specifically with many of the ideas and desires that each and every one of you have expressed with regard to attaining success in the endeavors in your life, to know that you can create this success in very specific, very clear ways without a lot of struggle, without a lot of strife, with clear consciousness, very, very simply. Therefore, the second portion of this interaction shall have a title, and you may give this title to the entire tape, even though the first portion we will be discussing a little bit about ourselves. The title you may use is 135, the No Risk Formula. Now, allow us to begin, first of all, with the idea of extraterrestrial consciousness. Most of you will understand there's really nothing mysterious about this. There is life throughout the universe, and it takes many different forms of expression. But the one basic common idea is that we are expressions of the all that is, the one consciousness of creation, just as you are yourself. Each and every being, no matter what form physiologically it may take, is another mirror, another facet of the idea of the universal consciousness expressing itself in every possible way that it can. We have discussed this concept with many of you many times, and I will not belabor the point at this particular exchange. Suffice it to say, each and every one of you as a unique reflection, as a unique expression of the infinite, also contains the whole infinite. You are holographic, if you will, in nature. The part contains all the information of the whole. Each part contains the whole. You have the ability to express your part and your wholeness in whatever way, shape, or form you deem to be the most exciting expression you could manifest, because that is your purpose, that is your mission, that is your legacy, to live up to your full potential as the particular expression you are being in this lifetime. Many individuals, as we have discussed, say, oh, I am searching for my purpose in life, I am searching for my meaning, why am I here, what am I doing? The idea, as we have stressed before many times, is to follow the thing that excites you the most, acting on it with integrity, because that excitement, that vibration you call excitement, is the answer to your prayers, is the indicator that lets you know that this thing that excites you more than anything else is the path that you are here to perform. Therefore, it is unerring. It is always easy to find, because it is the thing that fills you with the most joy. And if you follow it and act on it with absolute faith and absolute trust, you will unfold the purpose of your chosen lifetime, this particular expression, this particular lifetime. You will not fail in that sense. Now, we will discuss this a little bit in more detail from a new point of view in the second part of this exchange. But first of all, let us talk about extraterrestrials, as you call us. Once again, the idea is that there are many forums. Now, there was on your videotape a question that was posed. Many of your scientists are listening for radio signals from extraterrestrial, yet they have not really heard any. Well, why not? Well, that is very easy to answer. We do not use radio. The idea is that you are right now, as your Earth is positioned relative to the nearest other star systems that radio to begin with. They are long past their radio history. No longer do they give off radio wave signals from their planet for you to pick up. The civilizations that are, let's say, relatively close to your civilization that are still using radio have not been using radio long enough for the radio signals to have reached you yet, and will not reach you for quite some time. Your civilization is on the verge of not using radio anymore. The idea also is that there are many forms of electromagnetic communication that can be done in what you would call tight band communication. In other words, the form of communication that is laser-like and does not leak into space for other civilizations to pick up. So you are on the verge, as a technological civilization, also of dispensing with radio waves. And therefore you, as a planet, will also be radio silent for the most part. In the very near future, perhaps within what you may term the next decade or two at the most. Therefore, understand that your communication with extraterrestrial societies will more often than not take the form that you see before you now, the idea of direct mind-to-mind communication. For our civilizations have learned that the physical form, what you call the human body, what we perhaps call the SSI body, what some other civilization will refer to as their own style of body, all have the capability of acting as biological transceivers. And it is a much, much, much more direct form of communication that contains a greater ability of expression than a simple modulation of electromagnetic waves. The idea is that, yes, it does take a little bit of time to train the receiver, to train the sender, but once the training is done, once the sender and the receiver are synchronized in their wavelengths, once they are sensitized to each other, then communication can occur on a multitude of levels. Do understand that the communication you are receiving through the physical channel before you now is taking place on many more levels other than just visually, auditorily. There is energy being sent to you that is going through the channel into you. You are receiving conversation, communication on many different levels of your consciousness. Sometimes this communication on these levels, sub and unconscious as you call them, will be embedded in your consciousness and only blossom later, perhaps when you relax in sleep, in your dream state, or perhaps when your mind is wandering elsewhere, suddenly you will snap and remember a certain portion of the information that we are discussing that you did not hear with your ears nor see with your eyes. There are, aside from the vocalizations that we are able to create through the channel, also the gestures that you will see the channel's body going through. This is indicative of another form of conversation, another level of the conversation going on that you are picking up, as you would say, subliminally, and it is saying sometimes the same thing and sometimes many different things that you yourself will not realize until you release that information on the appropriate level at the appropriate time.